Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see you this evening. This is Master Coordinator Joanne Nistico, and this is our monthly Gen Team Zoom event. We're really excited about all that's happening in the Shaklee business, and we've got some great private and good information that we want to share with you tonight. So let me just reiterate about the Rising Road and how we are a group of people who intend to connect with others to help them experience and utilize the many benefits of world-class Shaklee products and business opportunity. Pam just recently shared a wonderful card she got from one of a customer she's had since the 1980s, and how she was just applauding Pam for her service to her and keeping her healthy. So that's what we do for a living, and also promoting our Shaklee business. I saw this, we all know that Kobe Bryant died recently, and it was a terrible accident. And I pulled this up, and he had the Mamba mentality. And he said it's all about focusing on the process and trusting in the hard work when it matters most. And I just love the message that Kobe Bryant said, and I won't read it to you. This presentation will be available to each of you, but it talks about if you're on a journey and you want to adopt Kobe's playbook to Mamba mentality, and we know how high achieving he was and how successful he was. He said, commit yourself to the daily practices that will increase your positive emotional state and deepen your spiritual connection and reduce stress. I love the last part of this. Sure, there'll be sweat, tears, and fears throughout the journey, but focusing on the process and trusting in the hard work is what makes a champion. That is the mindset necessary for you to overcome the challenges in your life. And I know each one of us can feel that, have experienced it. And those of us on the call want to become a champion, want to be a champion, want to move forward to being a champion. And this presentation this evening is one of the beginning steps to help you all achieve the dreams that you would like. I have a mentor, and I have a person I study with, and she had this slide is, what would your life look like if you always took the guided path? And you see these houses, and you see the road going up, and you see the road going down. Well, this is the Rising Road, and we're going up because we're giving you a guided path tonight to take and to look at and to follow that can help you move forward in an upward manner rather than getting into the rabbit path that you follow that may take you into other areas that won't get you to your goals and your dreams and your intentions. Susie Sunkel sent this other quote that I loved, and I thought I would add it before I introduce our next speaker. The challenge of leadership is to be strong but not rude, be kind but not weak, be bold but not a bully, be thoughtful but not lazy, be humble but not timid, be proud but not arrogant, and have humor but without folly. And that's from Jim Rohn. For those of you that don't know Jim Rohn or haven't followed any of his audios, you can YouTube him, look for some of his material. I know I saw Jennifer Cancio was on, and she's asked, with who do you listen to? What would be some good things to listen to? Well, Jim Rohn is a master at helping personal development and thoughtsmanship in becoming a very strong and powerful leader. So with that, I want to introduce you to a powerful leader in our upline, Presidential Master Coordinator Carolyn Whiteman. She's going to share some insights from the Master Summit. She'll explain a little bit about that. She'll also discuss some of the concepts that we're working with together and that she's working on. So welcome, Carolyn. It's nice to have you on tonight. Please share with our team and give you.
Thanks, Joanne. And it's great to be with this super powerful team. I hope all of you who are in the the Gen Team organization, the Rising Road, know how fortunate you are to have such a really great leader in Joanne. So honored to be part of the team and part of the organization. The Master Summit, rather than make this a report, like, this is what happened or this is what it was, what I'd like to say for all of us is we have the opportunity to be a part of just an extraordinary contribution, growth, revitalization, whatever terms you want to talk about. One of the beautiful things about having been in Shaklee and being a part of a company that's now 60 plus years old is that every company is like, it's not always Christmas Day. There are always things that come and go, that rise and fall. And what I can say is that my strong belief is this is a seriously rising time for Shaklee. Not only, one of the things that Roger mentioned is he'd come back from Davos, from the World Economic Forum, which is where the great thinkers and leaders of the planet get together in Davos, Switzerland. And he said he came home realizing that the three primary issues that are most important on the planet that everyone is talking about, guess what they are? Climate change and the environment, healthcare, and the economic security of people, the inequality and poverty. And when you think about, as he said, what are the three issues that are most important for the planet, and what are the three issues that we in Shaklee most contribute to? So here we are, environmental leaders, having been environmental leaders through the entire history of the company. And in addition to that, being focused, obviously, not on just health care, but well care as opposed to sick care. And then being focused on being able to create environment or economic opportunities for people. So we're really just right on such a very strong pathway. And so my invitation for all of us is, dust off your chairs, dust off whatever it is you've kind of thought about. And I think this is the time for really being in action. In addition to one of the things I'll close with, just in terms of just quick reports, I would do a hashtag for you, and the hashtag is 1BNA, and that's hashtag $1 billion North America. And that's the objectives for Shaklee. And guess what? That doesn't happen unless we contributed to it. And when that happens, we're all a part of it. So it's a really wonderful, worthy goal for us to be looking at. I think just a couple of real quick overview. Heather is,
Carolyn, I just want to mention, would you just share what the Master Summit was and what it is, and then tell us about seeing Heather there?
Sure. The Master Summit is now an annual event that has been taking place in February. It takes place at the corporate offices. And at that point, all the master coordinators are invited to come in and just spend a couple of days with the corporate staff, and partly with an idea we all get to connect, but we also get to get a little bit of a preview of what's coming for the next conference. Joanne is always invited, and for lots of reasons made the choice not to be there. So I was messaging as often as could be just to let her know what was going on. But it's just an informal opportunity for us to be together. And what was interesting is Heather's position has transitioned from being the president of Shaklee North America to being I think she's called the Chief Strategy Officer. And I think what that means is that the entire Shaklee corporate staff, all the senior executives, had just come back from a day or two of a workshop going through a 3-year plan. And the idea is we're not just looking at what's going on in 1 year, but looking at what's going on in 3 years and creating a strategic plan with the objectives of where we're going, the idea from the corporate side of what contributions the corporation will make, and then what the objectives are. And so one of the things that we did in that process was Heather, as the chief strategy officer, really ran a workshop with us going through the same kinds of objectives. And that is, what is our 3-year plan? What kind of a strategy do we have to accomplish it? What are the roadblocks? What are the things that we want to put in place? So it was a collaboration effort. And so that's just to bring people up to date on Heather's role. So she has been, I don't want to say replaced, but the role of being in charge of sales for globally is the fellow Jeff Hill that some of us have heard. And then the chief sales officer is Jeff Pearson, who's the one that we hear on the generally Monday calls. So those are the two people that are working very closely with field. They were really interested in what was going on, really wanted to connect with people in the field. And so that's what I think we'll be seeing more of. The good news is that I like the idea of a 3-year plan, because when things are too quick, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, that one passed me by because I never had a chance to get started with it. So I think the idea of a 3-year plan is really valuable. And Roger was, what I would like for us to celebrate with Roger is we're going to be looking forward to some things in Orlando at conference that Roger has put in probably a 1.5-year project on. And it's pretty innovative and really quite exciting in terms of the direction and the things that he's doing. Nothing takes us off course, so don't feel nervous about it. But my statement to the masters, in fact, was, I said, these are the reasons that we can be very fortunate that we have a CEO who is 2 things. Actually, I only said 1 in the meeting. I said, this is where we're fortunate to have a CEO who's a visionary, who thinks ahead. And he's talking about, well, when you do this and you do that, but this will connect with your Apple Watch, and this is the way this connects. He's not talking about stuff that's in the past. He's talking about where we're going and where the world is going. So I think we're very fortunate to have a CEO who is visionary. But the second part of it is, we're fortunate we got a CEO who's a billionaire, because not only can he focus and fund the kinds of projects that he's taking on, but he gives for us in terms of our income. He gives to us a stability that says the 15th of the month, that check's going to be there, and it's going to continue to be there. So I think it's things that we can feel really energized and excited about. The last piece that I will share very briefly, and actually, if you'd like to take out a little piece of paper, I'll walk you through something. And this is, as you know, Shackley has offered to us what we call the $20,000 plan in the year 2020. And so we're almost 10 months away from the end of that. So time is a-clicking. But here's what I'd like to walk us through to. And that is, how could you accomplish, how could a new person, brand new off the street, accomplish that first $20,000? And of course, if you're in a different place in your business, there's a different profile. But here's the way we do this. Draw a circle for you, or for the person. We'll call it John Smith. So John Smith is your new person. So John and Mary Smith are your new couple. How could they earn the $20,000? Well, step number 1 is obviously they become fully committed to Shackley. But their first objective is to create a consumer base that is producing 2,000 to 3,000 PV points a month. We like to say 3,000 for sure. And that can look like a bunch of people doing 200 or whatever. So their first objective is to create that base to get to the first benchmark, which is being a director. And the reason for becoming a director is there are 3 new profit centers. So you get prices at a better price, you get pricing profits, and you get a higher bonus percentage. But once you do that, the objective to get that $20,000 is you look to find 2 people who do the same thing. Now, don't do it for your reasons, do it for theirs, because there are 3 new processing centers for them, profit centers. So who are 2 other people who would like to be able to accomplish something like that? And as we get that model in our head, so draw those two circles underneath you, then what we do is we teach them to do the same thing. And the reason we do that is we want them to be able to qualify for the trips, get the other benefits and bonuses. So you've got two people under you, and you've got two people under them. And so that becomes the base core of your business. And when you do that, that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15,000 points that you do, or no, 18, 21,000 points, because you've got two with two. So now what you've qualified for is you've got your senior coordinator. So look at your chart. You've now earned $10,000. And then all you need to do is find one more first level, and you become an executive coordinator. And that's how you collect the 20,000 points. So the inspiration of that is being around the other business leaders who are going, this is doable, this we can do, this we can accomplish. And seeing the things that the energy that's being projected on where we're going, thinking about what's going on at conference, thinking about the program that's following that on Sunday, which Joanne can talk about, and just we get to pull back our hashtag, 1BNA, $1 billion North America, so that we can have the impact on those three things that Roger talked about. Being a positive influence on the environment, being a positive influence on well care as opposed to sick care, and being a positive influence on being able to support people in creating a stable form of income to support themselves financially. So that's just a kind of a quick overview. I hope that's helpful, Joanne.
Yeah,
and I hope that
great.
For everybody that you're energized, that you feel good about where we are and what we're doing.
And it's interesting because I do believe, we all, of course, want to develop master coordinators. My mission and passion is to develop senior executive coordinators. Because to me, executive coordinator and senior executive are really the first stepping stones to having a solid foundation on how you build. And it ties in very nicely to the 20K for a lot of people. And it's not overwhelming. It will take focus. It will be taking the guided path versus going down the rabbit path. And that, I think, is what really holds a lot of people back from growing forward, because they lose their laser-like focus. So that's some of the stuff we're going to talk about monthly throughout the year for the Rising Road Gen team. Carolyn, the next sheet that you're going to share is something that I think is my total inspiration of why I built a Shackley business. So I'm going to put this slide up for you, Carolyn.
Hang on, I got a dog coming out here. Can't leave him alone. I think this is so important for us to understand, is the value of creating the long-term business. Just like Pam being able to share the story of the customer that Pam has been working with since, so 80s, that's like 30 years ago, being a consistent, ongoing consumer. And so the value of being able to do that, we know we can trust the Shackley products. We know that those products will continue to give the kinds of results we want. What I think we lose track of is the business possibilities that makes available to us. And so that's what comes in with residual income, asset income, passive income, whatever it is that allows us to be paid on a monthly basis. So take a look at this. If your monthly income is, let's say, $500 a month, and the statistics say that the difference of $500 a month would make an absolute game-changing difference in the livelihoods of many people, having an additional $500 a month. So if your residual income that comes in month after month is $500 a month, in order to have that income, if you had money in the bank earning 5%, which granted, it's not going to earn 5% in cash, but there may be ways you can invest it. using this number, in order to have $500 a month in consistent income, you need to have $120,000 in the bank. Now just think about that for a minute and then look at some of the bigger numbers that some of us are fortunate enough to be able to have ongoing in the business because of what we created in our Shackley businesses. And I think it's really important for us to realize that when we get those business muscles a little bit stronger, that this is a part of what we get to offer to people, is the opportunity to create this kind of income, not by putting $1 million in the bank, but by creating the businesses that we can in order to create that kind of ongoing income. So I'm very energized by that, and it's I think it's
ongoing
exciting.
Monthly income.
Yeah.
Even as a director who makes $500 sharing Shackley products simply, it's like having $120,000 saving in the bank. And I've always looked at, this is what has inspired me to really build a larger business. And in talking to my children about this concept, you know, you can work a lot in the beginning and you keep getting paid, even when you're not working as hard as when we worked in the beginning, let's say, but it's equivalent to having this asset in the bank. And that's so critical for all of you. We have many $1 million earners on the Gen team, a number of you. And I think a lot of times we're never satisfied with what we're making. We always want to make more. We feel we should be further ahead. It's like that Mamba, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into building this business. It's like the element of knowing that we still have further to go, all of that. But when we look at the appreciation of the income that we've earned over the years, you know, it really gives me a great deal of thankfulness. And that's anyone earning any kind of income from building a Shackley business, because it's so much more than, and it as Roger was talking about, you know, one of the biggest issues today are are people going to earn an income? You know, how are they going to increase their profitability in their lives? And not everyone has that ability, but we do. There's no glass ceiling. We can still move forward and move up based upon our own passion and dedication to our goals and our intentions and what we want to do. So it's really quite beautiful as far as I can see. With that said, and Carolyn mentioned it, building a balanced business. Now, we're all in this because we want to help other people, certainly, but we also want to help ourselves. So those of you on the call want to build a better Shackley product consumer base. So that's product selling and sharing muscle. Then there's the build your business building muscle. We need to balance both of those out. Now, you may just really concentrate on the product sharing time, and that's where your strong suit is, and that's where you really want to go forward with. And that really is what the most important, probably, because Pam's going to share with you why that's the most important muscle to start with. And then you want to balance out your other side along with that. So I'm going to turn this over to Pam Budner now on product process to build high volume. Senior Coordinator Pam Budner.
It would help if I didn't mute. Thanks, Joanne. So I love Carolyn starting us off with drawing circles again, because that's really that really gets the creative juices going, doesn't it? When you start drawing those circles,
And even, Pam, when you draw the circles, how many times have we all done this together? We draw the circles and we go, I have no idea who's going to fit in that circle.
right.
And so we gave them an initial, and the initial was DH for dark horse. It's like, I don't know who it is, but it's somebody's coming out of somewhere.
Yeah. And I think that's, you know, if you can take away one thing from our talk tonight, I would challenge everyone, including myself, because I don't ask anyone to do things that I don't want to do or that I haven't done yet myself, but I need to draw the circles and put the DH in the middle and just expect that with activating my thought process and activating the other things that we talk about all the time that we're talking about tonight, that the names will start to fill in those circles. And I think also, Carolyn, what you said, maybe Joanne, you said it, but you know, a family to have an extra $500 or $1,000 a month coming in, that is a huge, huge bonus would make such a difference for so many different family scenarios or individual scenarios. You know, think about what it would do to whittle down debt or a student loan, or to be able to even stash some aside. I think so many people are challenged right now about saving money, about being able to save or create a little nest egg. So I have always loved the product, and the first thing on that circle that Carolyn mentioned was to create a consumer base of 2,000 to 3,000 PV a month. And the best way to do that is you have to start with yourself, and you have to become a raving fan of this product line. If you're making a commitment to the business and you want to go for it, I'm not talking about being a hobbyist, but I'm talking about being committed to building a business. You have to become a raving fan, and the only way you do that is to try as many products as you possibly can right from the get-go. And you have to field test your own products. You know, if you opened a shoe store, you wouldn't go to Bloomingdale's to buy your shoes. You'd probably buy shoes from yourself. Well, this is no different. And take the health print too. If you haven't taken that health print in a while and you'd like to use that tool to introduce people to our product line, take it and then say, okay, I've got 3 scenarios within the health print. It's good, better, best. I'm going to start with the best. I'm going to upgrade my own nutrition program to be the best. And that way, when you share this with other people, they will want to do what you did because you started with the best. Build a Shackley pantry. That's another thing I wanted to mention. You know, we don't have to have case lots of inventory anymore as we did 30, 40 years ago. We have the benefit of Shackley doing the fulfillment for us, but we have to have stuff on hand, not only for our own use. I mean, do you like to run out of toilet paper? Probably don't. Do I like to run out of my favorite moisturizer or my favorite protein or my favorite household cleaning product? I sure don't. I want to have extras in the pantry, so my pantry is full of the stuff that I use day in and day out. And I'd like to have a couple of extra around, so if I'm talking to someone and I want to promote a product by gifting it to them, or I have a neighbor who has run out of their protein or their Nature Brite or whatever, I've got a little bit extra in my pantry so I can immediately be that person. And during that time too, it's great to have member direct ordering, but it's also great to be able to put a product in someone's hands and transfer that energy that goes around with it. I recently finished up a round of physical therapy, and as a what do they call it? They discharged me. That's the reason when they kick you out of physical therapy. I gave my therapist a tube of the I call it Fizzy C, the tube of the vitalized immunity, because everyone's walking around with a mask on their face and everyone's concerned about viruses spreading. And I told him a little bit about it. I gave him my card. I said, I really think that you might enjoy this. And thank you so much for working with me to help me with my PT issues the past few weeks. So, being able to do that, I think is wonderful. Carry some stuff with you. Give it as a thank you. The tea sticks. There's so many products now that lend themselves to that immediate transfer of energy. So building your Shackley pantry. And here's another, I know what I wanted to say. You've got to create your own story. You can't, your heart has to be in this business, and your heart has to have a story to tell. And that's why I had Joanne put up that Tell Stories graphic, because what we really do in this business is collect stories. Stories ignite people, they warm people up. It's something that just, again, it's that transfer of energy. So if you have stories, then you can start to build a portfolio of stories that your customers and that your people that you contact will also have stories, and pretty soon you'll have a whole library of stories to share. But it has to start with you. You have to build your own story. Here's a very cool scenario. If you think about yourself as being a very committed person to these products, and you want to build high volume, and you want to grow and expand, and that 20K is something that kind of makes your heart flutter, gets you a little excited, think about this. Think about using $500 worth of products a month. You may think that's high. I think it's kind of average for my family. And think about introducing people, 6 people, to that changing brands concept of $500 worth of products every month. That's a real wide range of great nutritional support. It's getting rid of the toxic cleaners. It's getting great skincare, personal care going through your house. So you plus 6 at 500 is 3,500 PV. It's not a far-fetched thing to imagine, is it? So play around with the circles, put some different things in, maybe do up some starter orders. I know I'm working on a great $500 starter order. So even when you're in a situation where you're talking product, and I want to build my business muscle, there's an opportunity to share with someone what the benefits of maybe thinking a little bit more about how these products can impact not only your health, not only the climate and our environment, but the economic function of a family. You might ask a question: what would it be like to have an extra $500? Would that make a difference? That you plus 500 plus 6 at 500, that's about $1,000 extra a month for a family. Just have fun with it. Thanks.
Thank you, Pam. That's great. And it is so true. Share stories. And Pam shared a couple of stories today with us that motivated me and inspired me much more than a lot of other things. So share your stories. So it gets back to my approach on what's the secret in private Facebook pages that are available to the Gen team by invitation only. It's been developed by Presidential Master Coordinator Carolyn Whiteman and team. And remember when I started, I had the house with the rising road and the road going down the rabbit path. And if you were guided on the right path, well, that's what's in a process that we need to make sure that we as leaders, we need to connect, that it needs to be as simple. I don't know about any of you, but I think most people need something simple because it's a very busy world and we don't need complication. It needs to be duplicatable, which means that someone can copy whatever you're doing and feel comfortable that they can go forward with it. It needs to be something easily shared so that we don't have to hum and haw and be fearful about that we can share it. This is important to me. It needs to produce results. We want to see results from the activity that we do. It's educational. Look what Roger Barnett, he goes to this international group of mastermind thinkers on how we need to improve the quality of people's lives in the world. And, we have those answers. So we're educational. For me, it has to be fun, it's enjoyable. And I was meeting with Jennifer Cancio this week on Friday, and I shared the Facebook pages with her. And she was reviewing like so many other things that she wanted to look at. And Jennifer, I hope you don't mind me using your name here. But she said when she went to the Facebook page group, she said, I like it. It's enjoyable. Bingo, then that's where you go. If you aren't authentic with it and you don't feel good about it, and believe me, when you see what's being created, you'll find something in there that you will relate to and be authentic with. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carolyn, but I'm going to give a little prelim on this. We talk about building a balanced business. Product side, use your muscle. Business side, use your other side of your muscle. This is a product, process, and resource side. And there's the part on the left is the Partnership with Nature. It's a people prospecting page and resource side. And then there's PWN, which is Partnership with Nature Partners, which is a member orientation. So Carolyn, you want to just discuss a little bit about how this came about? And I don't know if you want me to pull it up, but I think what we can do is just at least talk about it tonight.
I think probably just talk about it, and then Joanne, you'll have the opportunity to selectively invite people if they want to go in, understanding that it's still a work in progress. So if people want to go in and see it, this is just a little bit of background. I, along with some other leaders, particularly working with Charlene Fike and some others, have been really brainstorming about how do we move our businesses into this next generation. And it was really before all the things that were announced in Pleasanton and that we're going into conference with, but it's really just kind of having our thinking in place about what is the next step. And what I knew was the next step for me was I had lost the connection with a process of what to do. Our instincts are wonderful, but our instincts are not copyable. And so there seem to be two. So just as a quick summary, we are using Facebook. We're using Facebook, not being out there on Facebook, but we're using Facebook as a setup that they call pages. And the pages, what we have is a private secret group, which doesn't show up anywhere, and where you have to be given permission to come in. And they have a very good format where we're able to put in units. In other words, like chapters. So chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 of different topics. And so what we are very actively working on is 2 sets of pages. This, what's on the screen right now, is the set of pages that relate specifically to the product side. So the first one is Partnership with Nature, and that will be prospecting for people. So for example, your yoga instructor or someone that you drive to work with says something about, gosh, what, I've been getting the flu, or I've got aches and pains, or whatever their issue is. This gives us an opportunity to say, if I send you an invitation, if we add tag and message, if we add you to a page that has some stories that might be of relevance to you and tag you on the particular story, would you like to go in and read some stories about some people that's made a difference to? So in other words, there will be something just like Pam's, the stories that Pam was talking about, and like the story that I just heard today of one of our business leaders who had had a really horrible wound that was having a terrible time healing. And they discovered that in our hand and body lotion, there is a healing property and something from Dr. Shackley's wisdom. And he began applying this hand and body lotion to this really nasty wound. I mean, I've seen the pictures and it's pretty raw and unpleasant. He started using the Shackley hand and body lotion, applied it, and now 2 weeks later, that wound is almost completely healed. The doctors are astonished. He was able to avoid an additional surgery. And those are the kinds of stories that we can
Carolyn,
have. Yeah.
Let me just interject here a minute, because one of the aspects of why it's secret and private is we're able to put these testimonials on it without it going viral, and whereby it becomes illegal.
Yes.
Because we're told not to prescribe, but these testimonials in the Partnership with Nature will be in that particular page group in Facebook, and you can do and you'll see stories and other testimonials that we can't necessarily make public, and that's another reason why it's secret and private. And one way that I've used it, my yoga teacher actually was talking about the caustic parts of what fragrances are. And I mentioned to her, I said, by the way, I have a video which Carolyn had sent me and is in this site that I can send you that it talks about just that. So it gave me a third-party reference and resource to give to my yoga teacher, as well as I'm working with an environmental group in my area, and I'm able to use this partnership with nature material as a resource for me, third party, that I can contact people. And it's much easier than my having to search the Shackley website or go to all YouTube and see what's in YouTube. Carolyn's done a magnificent job. So just wanted to interject that, Carolyn.
Well, thanks. And listen, I'm not doing it alone. And we've got, there'll be stories from each one of you that will be able to contribute. So the idea is to make some simple prospecting that's consistent with busy people, being able to tag them directly to the story that you want them to go to, which then opens up for them the opportunity to see some of the other things in that site. So that's designed to be a product prospecting site. The additional product side, particularly product side, is a member orientation. We've gotten away from member orientations. I know Joanne and Pam and I can tell you that, for heaven's sakes, that's really how we built our businesses. But somehow we've gotten away from it. And one of the things that's happened, of course, is anyone now who buys products from Shackley basically becomes a Shackley member, but they have no idea what that means. They don't know what the rest of the products are. They really have no orientation. So what we're doing with this page is to make this into a member orientation, so that each unit has a different section of the products in it. And what each business leader can do, should they choose to, is to offer an incentive or a reward for someone to actually go through each of the different units. They can offer them a reward. Some people are offering like $100 in products if they go through each one of the sections. And our objective is to really expose people to the whole broad range of what Shackley has to offer. So that's the member orientation side. So that's one side of these pages. In addition, I will also say that one of the reasons that these are secret and private, it sounds like, oh my gosh, it's like this clandestine thing. Part of it is, yes, we can say things without being concerned. And this isn't like wild and crazy testimonies, but the one I just told you is real and true. One of the reasons is, honestly, this is work in progress. This is not like, hey, we've got a template, we can teach everyone else how to do it, because honestly, we're still figuring it out. So it's really, we're inviting anyone who becomes a part to please help us make it better, make it work well. And so that's the reason. After a while, we're not going to try to keep things secret, but right now we're still learning. We're trying to figure it out.
Well, I kind of like the secret side myself.
I don't intend to open it up ever.
Yeah.
But I mean, the idea of it is something that we really don't want to talk about now, because we don't have, it's not something we can explain because we're still learning. So
yeah, and I do believe, for me, I find that that's why I like that we're meeting once a month, the Gen team. I do believe we have to circle our wagons. The biggest Shackley businesses have kept their meetings closed, and I think there's a good reason for it. I think there's a good reason because there's some, I mean, I think every single one of you can relate to this. There's too much information out there. Mm-hmm. And we want you to follow us. If you know, I mean, you can find one mentor and you can say, this is the path I want to go on. We've built big businesses. We know what we're doing. We know how to do it. There's too much stuff out there. Again, talking with Jennifer Cancio, you know, which do you choose? Who do you choose? How do you go forward? And Carolyn, you mentioned this to me. You know, you're welcome to go and resource yourself anywhere you want. But, you know, to be laser-like focused is so critical for your success. You've got to kind of put a bubble around your head and say, this is who I am. This is the path I'm going to follow. and this is the way I'm going, because if you start going in and chase too many rabbits, you you divert yourself from the true focus of what really is going to happen to build your business. And I've seen it with every single person who isn't successful today, is there's too many distractions and too many rabbit paths that you go down. So I'm standing up firm on that one. So let's talk about the next page, Carolyn.
Carolyn,
Yes, yes, Pam.
might I ask you just to, not lengthy, but just a comment or two, but how Facebook lends itself to what you've created here?
Sure.
Why
Sure.
Facebook? Because I know some people may feel, as I did, slightly resistant to Facebook as a medium.
I understand that. And this is in no way trying to endorse that people have to get on Facebook and do, whatever other things there are. The purpose of this is like using a platform that Facebook has set up and made available. So it's really just a structure. It's not, you don't have to be involved in anything else on Facebook. It simply is a structure, and it is a structure that allows us, as I said, to have different units and different, which is like different chapters that people can go through. So it's a place for us to be able to post a process that allows people to come and go. That's really, and does that kind of answer it, Pam? Did we lose Pam?
She might have
Yes,
missed herself.
yes, it's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is not, whether or not you're a Facebook fan, it doesn't make any difference. This is simply a platform. So,
Right.
So this is the other side, and this is the other side of our muscles, as Joanne said. This is the business building side. And so the first one is a business prospecting page that's called Career with a Conscience. That honestly is the one I've spent least time on so far. So if you ended up going in there, you wouldn't see a whole lot. But that's where you run into, for example, you're a yoga instructor who goes, gosh, I'm tired of teaching 12 yoga classes a week or a day or whatever, and I can't get time to be off. I'd like to go away for 3 weeks. I'm not going to get paid. What happens if I hurt my arm or my shoulder? And this is where the opening up for someone of a conversation about what if you were to be able to leverage all of the experience you have with your clients and be able to get a residual income off of all the people that you offer good health to over the whole time of your career as a business opportunity. So in other words, there are lots of ways to introduce people to the business. Same format, be able to, if I were to add you and tag you to a message on something and add you to that, would you like to take a look at some stories that people have about how this has worked? So that's what that one will be. The one that I've honestly spent the most time on personally right now is the business training. And this is the step-by-step model of what does someone do when they actually say, okay, I want to work, I want to build. And honestly, it's designed to be, okay, so now I'm a distributor, what do I do? And so the very first part about that is giving people an option of making a choice about what kind of distributor do you want to be, because many, many, many people, in fact, probably 80% or more of the people who become distributors are really just doing it as a hobby. They may think that they are looking at going into business, but they really haven't thought that far. And the statistics show that about 80% of distributors never sponsor anybody. That being the case, so now I've become a distributor, what do I do? We want to give them the opportunity to sort themselves and perhaps look at some of the possibilities that could be available. But the bigger focus for me is those people who are serious about wanting to build. And that's where we start looking at people who may have kind of backed off from looking at creating our business because we didn't really have a way to treat it like a business. We didn't really have the steps to tell them what to do. We weren't clear about the expectations of what it took. And so this is what I'm looking to do, and it's really modeled after some things that Joanne can tell you about, but it's finally putting together a business process. So that's something that is much more in place now, because that's where I've been putting my focus. So does that help, Joanne?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great, Carol. This is an introduction that, you know, I know we're doing once a month Zoom. I'm available for conversations. If you would like to be invited to these sites and explore more, you need to connect and contact me so that we can discuss the process, the resource side, and what you want to do with the business and where you see yourself going. So with that said, I'm just trying to move this slide. Carolyn mentioned there's a special opportunity to invite your team for tomorrow evening. A part of the process, and there's so much, as I said, that we can look at. And what do we choose that's going to move us forward into the rising road? That's my focus. I don't want to go down a rabbit path. I want to go to the rising road. I want to be focused. I want to be intentional. And I want everybody to be authentic to themselves and feel good about where they're going. Well, tomorrow night, you can meet Dr. Kay Sao. Now, he's a presidential master coordinator. He has the Shaklee's largest organization. And yes, he hails from Malaysia and Taiwan and Indonesia, which you can say, oh, well, that's another part of the world, and how does it relate to us, and how do we connect with it? I think after talking to Carolyn, his philosophy and process is something that is duplicatable, simple, and easy, and not different than what we've done to build our businesses. He says, don't just be interested, don't just be committed, you must be devoted. And wow, what a statement that was. That kind of said, you know, gosh, yes. For example, if you're not going to Shaklee Global Conference and you want to be a master coordinator, well, rethink that, because there is no master coordinator that would not be in Orlando or would not be at every global conference. You know, if you want to model behavior, you want to model behavior that is at the rank or above of where you want to be, based upon what income you want to bring into your life. So this gentleman will give you some guidelines and insight, and you can take a look at it. And I'll send out if you need more information, but Carolyn will send me the link and I'll send it out in an email. So that's tomorrow night for you. And again, I don't want everybody to follow everything. I know it can be overwhelming. I am one to say no to things, and I have to be, but however, I say yes to my rising road. I say yes to where I know I'm moving up and going in the direction I want to go in. Pam and I have, and Donna and I, and Susie and I, and a number of you, we've talked about where we feel strongest in going forward, but keeping our mind open for also expanding into future and extended growth. So with that said, next month, and this is one of my favorite topics, I love the Shaklee business model. I love health, I love nutrition, I love what it gives to us. My dad died at 55. I want to make sure everybody's healthy. I want to protect our environment, but I also want to be financially free. And asset development for your future is what really turned me on about Shaklee. So mark your calendars, Thursday, Wednesday of the month, March 18th at 8 p.m. We'll discuss continued the comment on ROE, return on effort, return on investment, asset building for a thriving retirement income. It's the same Zoom location, and we look forward to seeing you there, but most importantly, invite people to join you, because this is a business. It's like, you know, we don't earn income if we don't get customers. We don't build an ROE or return on investment if we don't find business builders that can be in perpetuity. And we believe that we can now provide you with an additional resource site and process that can take the next 3 years minimum into a great vision and future, just as Roger was talking about. So thank you all for joining us this evening. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Pam, for participating. And we are actually 4 minutes early. I'm so pleased that we're able to keep it all within an hour. And I thank Scott Holdren, who's recording this evening for us so that it'll be available for review. And I want to thank everyone again for being with us. Carolyn, Pam?
Thanks to you, Joanne. Thanks, great leadership.
Well, thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you to all. Great evening together.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.